Nobody will tell you straight out what a rebrand costs. Every agency does the same dance. It depends. Let's jump on a call. So how about I just tell you? The average rebrand with us is $36,730. That's your number. But a number on its own is useless. What matters is what's sitting next to it. So stick with me. I'll show you what that number includes, what it actually does, what you walk away with, and what goes into making it happen for it to actually work. That way you can see what it costs and maybe what it's actually costing you not to do it that you've never actually factored. Because the number alone is not the point. It's not the point. So why won't anyone tell you what a rebrand actually costs? Well, the honest answer is this. Most agencies don't know their number. They price every job on by scratch. So they hide behind it depends. Well, the other reason's worse because their whole pitch is the price. And I'll tell you our price up front because the number was never the point. It's never the point. What it buys is the point. So when someone won't name a price, it usually means that they either haven't done the thinking or they haven't systemized their process. So they just look at the budget that you have and they take that whole number. That's the one that nobody admits to, right? So we have done the thinking. We know what it takes to move a business from the brand that it's currently outgrown to the one it actually needs to keep growing. And that's why I can comfortably tell you that the 36K is our price without flinching. It's not a guess. It's a number with a foundation underneath it, a strong foundation. So who is this number actually for? Well, there is something to clarify here because it does matter. This isn't a number for everyone. It's the average for a particular kind of business, the type of business we help most often. They have a team in the double digits, they're profitable, but too much still runs through one person, the founder or the seasoned business owner who has carried it for years. The sales depend primarily on them, the occasional wrong hire slips through, and they've quietly outgrown the brand that they've built. If that's you, stay with me. This number is the conversation. But if you're a bootstrapped founder or a business owner who doesn't have a team like that, you don't have those problems, then that number isn't for you. There's another solution for you, which we can have that conversation. But for now, this is the conversation because the price doesn't simply buy a logo. The logo is in the package, but it's not what you're paying for in a rebrand because a rebrand solves a specific problem. It solves the dependency problem, the people problem, the standards that keep slipping. And to be clear, this is about a rebrand, not a refresh, which often gets confused. A refresh is a light touch on a brand that still fits. A rebrand is for when you have well and truly outgrown the one that you're wearing. They're two different questions, two different problems, two different numbers. So what's actually in the price and what isn't? Well, in this figure, it's the brand foundations, the strategy that underpins it, the design, the website design, the social assets, the things that decide whether people trust you, whether they find the meaning. But what's not in it is signage, packaging, livery, uniforms, apps, systems, the rollout, right? That's the paint. It matters. It's important, but it's the easy part. And it comes after the foundational thinking is done. So people get this backwards. They budget for the visible stuff and they starve the part that actually matters. Then they wonder why the new look was a flash in the pan and changed nothing. The foundations aren't the expensive part. They're the real investment because they're the part that actually does the work. Get those right and the rollout almost designs itself. So what does the number actually mean? Well, on its own, nothing. 36K is only considered expensive or cheap when you are holding it up against something. Hold it next to a logo off a freelancer site or from an AI tool, and yeah, it looks like a lot. But hold it next to what a broken brand is quietly costing you every month, every quarter, every year, year on year, and it looks like a bargain. So this is the trap. You compare the price to other prices. You should be comparing it to the cost of staying where you are. The leads that go nowhere, the superstars who leave or aren't attracted to the business, the deals that quietly die when you're not in the room. None of this shows up on the invoice, right? But you are paying for it every month. So what does one bad hire really cost you? And this is the comparison that makes the number make the most sense. Like, I want you to think about one bad hire. We've all had them. Now, I'll share a story. Someone on 100K who turns out wrong. Not evil by any means, just wrong for the role, right? What does that actually cost you by the time they're gone? Google says 30% of their salary, so that would be 30K, right? But when we calculate it, it isn't even close. I want to draw this out for you because there's a formula and it'll help you work it out. So this is our formula. It's to define the $1 million problem. And I want to run through it with you on a higher level, right? Let's take a 100K role, 100K. And we won't talk about number of bad hires or the 10-year projection, but I'm going to zoom into the calculations here. Now, if we look at this, there's 4 levers in this that we need to factor in. The first is the recruitment cost. Recruit. Right? Here we're talking about an external agency, your time, their reward. Okay? Conservatively, 20K. Right? I don't know what it is for you, but the average price is 23K. Right? That's the data says that per hire. So that's the first part. Then we've got the trial period itself, 3 months probation, where we want them to work out because we've invested in them in this process. Hope is not a plan, but we do have hope. So on this 100K for 3 months, that's 25K, right? The next thing we have is because this person isn't working out, there is an intensive management cost added to this, where you, maybe another manager, invest way more time trying to bring this person up. So management, factor that at 12K over this 3-month period. Okay. And then the last one is productivity. Now, this is the drop in productivity for the team who has to pick up the slack for this individual. It usually impacts 2 people, 2 or 3, to have to pick up the slack because this person isn't performing. We have calculated to be 12K, right? So if we add this up, this is 69K. To be clear, this is just for 3 months and you still have to rehire. So when you put this 69K against a $36,000 cost, right? Which when the rebrand's done properly, it eliminates this completely, then it's a bargain. So this is why the cost that you can see in this quote is the cheaper one. It is on the quote right in front of you, right? Or an average. And it is right here, 36,000. At first it feels big because you're looking straight at it, but you're not looking at the bad hire, the drifting brand, the missed opportunities, the slow bleed of the wrong standard, productivity, performance. You can't see those on an invoice or a quote. They're not sitting in front of you as a comparison, and you probably haven't even factored them in or calculated them. Most people never do. And a lot of business owners just accept these costs. Bad hires are the cost of doing business. Is that familiar? More people equals more headaches. Those are both beliefs that I had until I worked it out. And that's the story that many business owners tell themselves. So the receipt that you can see in the quote is almost always the cheaper one if you do the work to calculate the cost. So we are wired to fear the visible costs and ignore the invisible one. But the invisible one is the business killer. It leaks a bit every week, a bit every hire, a bit every time someone misinterprets or forms the wrong opinion of your brand before you even get a chance to say a word. When we calculated just the bad hire cost for our own business, and this is over a couple of decades, it worked out to be millions of dollars that I wish I had actually solved earlier. What is it for you? So what actually drives the cost of a rebrand? Well, there are two things, and it really comes down to how far your business has drifted from the brand it's still wearing, right? And how much of the work is foundational versus simply cosmetic. A small gap is a smaller job, naturally. A business that has outgrown itself needs the foundations rebuilt, not repainted. And that is what moves the number, not an hourly rate, but the distance your brand has drifted. So when you ask what a rebrand costs, the real answer is another question. And it's how far has your business moved away from what your brand actually says you are? So the bigger the gap, the more it costs to close, and the more that it is actually costing you to leave it open. That's the truth. That's the number that should actually keep you up at night, not a price like 36K. So here's the fuller story. A rebrand done from the foundations doesn't just cost less than one bad hire. It changes the standard and actually let this person or these people slip through in the first place. And that's the big return that nobody puts on the quote. And if you want to know where your brand actually stands right now, before you think even more about investing $1 in a rebrand, we've built a way that you can find out. It's called Ember. It's free and it takes about 60 seconds and it scores where your brand really sits from a first impression standpoint, and it shows you the gap that you're paying for. There is that free version that does the first impression, and then there is a deeper one that gets into this brand gap we've been talking about. If you want to have a play, the link is in the description. I encourage you to run it now, then come and talk to me about the number. Until next time, be unapologetically awesome. Bye for now.